You know, it's very often that I come into the show with many things to say, but I was kind of silence-stricken when I listened to the intro. There's a guy that called in, and I can't remember his name, you'll forgive me, that called in on Tuesday last week when we're celebrating the Springboks victory. And he says, with a couple of seconds to go before they blew the whistle, he said, Dlalanu Mandoza. And it's what? 7 years since Mandoza passed. My old friend Mandoza, 7 years since he passed. And his song, Galagata, has become a symbol for victory in this country. Has become a symbol for celebration and greatness. Life, how it works. Welcome to it. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Andile Ncube. It's 9 after the hour 6. What you've just heard now in the kickoff is Kaizer Jr. doing the amazing job that he always does, to be so positive about what's happening at Kaizer Chiefs and to ask for not only patience, but from the people at Kaizer Chiefs, in the staff quarters, in the training grounds, as well as you at home, to gather around this team. I mean, take a look at Orlando Pirates. I was at the stadium last night. I was at Orlando watching their victory. Maforvane, my goodness. As soon as he got up the bench to go stretch, you could hear the crowd going wild. When he came onto that, you could hear the crowd going wild. And somebody said to me, Andile, imagine a day where Undlondlo, Maforvane, no Lodge start finding each other. Pirates will be unstoppable. And it's hard to not believe that when you see what the young man did yesterday and every time he's come on at Orlando Pirates. Great game that. It ended with Orlando Pirates winning by 1-0. It's 10 after the hour 6. Thank you so much to Thibaut Touch and the team. They do it again tomorrow between 3 and 6. You want to be a part of that. You don't ever want to miss the touchdown. They've got a big interview coming. I've been listening. I heard a big interview, no? They've got a big interview coming with an international superstar, I think. Is he going to be in the country? He's going to come to studio. Okay. You don't have, you are whispering. We can hear you. Just talk if you need to talk, Malcolm. Okay. So do stay tuned in to Thibaut Touch and the gang every single weekday between 3 and 6. It's a little bit football today. It is a Wednesday. We'll touch back based on the scores from the Champions League last night, but also we'll have an important conversation with the chairman out in Cape Town, at Cape Town City. That is John Comitis, because I'd love to know what his thoughts are on the AFL, but also I hear that Karma Billiot is training with them. Have they signed Karma Billiot? And there's also the huge price tag on Kanyisa Mayo. So we'll get into all of that with John Comitis and so much more. And then SAFA. And I always say this with such a heavy heart because I want things to work at SAFA. I want things to go right. But from what I'm hearing, the general manager, and you would have read it on the weekend in the newspapers, has quit. He's resigned from the South African Football Association. But why, Andile Maforvane? Why have you left SAFA? In the Champions League, Atletico Madrid putting 6 past Celtic. A great performance from the boys there. There's a change the way they're playing at the moment. Griezmann scoring 2 of those goals and Morata scoring another 2 of those goals to beat the Scottish team by 6-0. Lazio playing Feyenoord, beating them by a 1-0. Borussia Dortmund beating Newcastle United by 2-0. AC Milan beating Paris Saint-Germain by 2-1 there. A very, very, if I may say so, lackluster Paris Saint-Germain there. It was Giroud that scored the winner there in the 50th minute. What other game were they? Oh, there was Zvezda, who played Lipzig. 2-1 is how it ended. And Manchester City putting 3 through from the young boys there. 3-0 is how that ended. Shakhtar Donetsk beating Barcelona. And FC Porto beating Royal Antwerp there. So those are the matches in the Champions League. There is more matches, of course, in the Champions League this evening. And locally, last night, we did see Cape Town City, we're going to speak to the chairman in a bit, beating Chipa United by 2-1. Orlando Pirates beating Sekhukhune by an odd goal. Royal AM also putting 3 points on the board when they beat Lamontville Golden Arrows in the KZN Derby. Stellenbosch getting another victory, beating Richards Bay, who are now in solid trouble, 2-1. Those are all the results from yesterday's matches. 15 after the hour 6. Please help me welcome John Comitis, chairman of Cape Town City. Chair, thank you so much for holding and welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me on your show. Congratulations
on your victory last night.
Yes, thank you. It was good to win again, and it's been a while that we've had a run like this. It was a good victory.
And I mean, this conversation comes at such a great time because it's 4 now in the league in a row. After you hadn't had a very good beginning of the season with the 5 games that you lost, back to back. What's been the difference?
I think what, initially we were very happy with the squad we had and the way we were playing. And we won the first 2 games. And we took our foot off the pedal, I think. And to an extent, there was a lot of transfer rumours as well. The transfer window was still open and it just stabilised the club to an extent. We then decided to bring Lebohang Manyama on board as well. And I think that was a masterstroke by Eric. And there's always a gap between the head coach and the players. As much as coaches all would like to believe that, they understand their players and the players are responding to them, there's always a gap because of, number one, seniority, number two, issues around, fear of selections and things like that. And that gap can be only bridged by somebody that can have the trust of the players and has the ear of the coach. And that's exactly where Manyama fitted in, and it kind of bridged the gaps that we had in the setup and assisted to create a better communication, and hence the results. I mean, the team that I always felt had the ability.
What we're going to do, Chair, is I'm just going to put you back to the producer here, Timmy, so that we can try get a clearer line. I mean, you're giving us such pearls here, and I'd hate for anybody to miss anything that you're saying. The line not great, so we're going to just take John Comitis and give him back to Timmy as Timmy then tries to figure out if we can perhaps get a better line here. But we're speaking about Cape Town City. They've won their last 4 games in a row now. And they've got some good scores on it as well. I mean, they put 3 in the Cape Town derby. They then beat Kaizer Chiefs by an odd goal. They beat Richards Bay with 3-1 again before they beat Chipa last night by 2-1. But before that, they went 5 games without a victory. But even more painfully so, they couldn't score goals. I mean, they scored 3 in that, and it was in the 3-2 losing against Amazulu match, as well as the 2-1 in the cup, of course, against Cape Town, or rather against Kaizer Chiefs as well. We've got the chairman back now, John Comitis, with us, joining us, chairman of Cape Town City. Chair, I'm hoping that the line's going to be a lot better. Thank you so much once again for joining us. And you mentioned Lebo Manyama, and that's one of the things I was going to talk to you about, because I know how close you were. You've been on the show speaking about Lebo Manyama, and how close you are and how he's so important to the club. Congratulations on the club on retaining an old boy, number one. But as far as technically involved, how involved is he technically? Yes, I hear you about bridging the gap and personally, maybe being a mentor to speak. But is he involved technically with Eric Tinkler in the club as well?
Yeah, yes, absolutely. We've got it's actually three coaches underneath Eric now, including Manyama, and there was the gap that we filled was the coach that basically had the DNA of the club at heart and understood players from the players' side, and to bring that level into the technical side for the coach, make him aware of things, and at the same time give the players the platform where they could express themselves on issues that they may have. And sometimes you think you know everything, but there's other things going on in the background. Things like transfers, as I explained, and players not, seeing themselves not moving in the transfer window and being disappointed with that. And all these things affect the performance. Even the games we lost, we were playing well, and we a couple of occasions we were leading to the last 10, 15 minutes, and then we lost the game. So, there was no issue about Eric and his preparedness and how he was preparing the team, and it was about adding to the mix rather than actually looking at Eric as Eric's performance. I was very happy with Eric. I can see what he does, and I can see he had applied himself, and then I had to get the players to get counted. They also have to take responsibility, and sometimes you need to make them aware, and you need to talk frankly with them. And that's the kind of stuff that Lebo Manyama is able to do. He can look at them square on and tell them as it is, without fear of repercussion, or the player going into their shell and then, not being confident to come out and play. So these are the little things, tweaks here and there that sometimes you need, and it's worked well for us.
I see the coach, Eric Tinkler, has signed out to move to complete his KFA license, and is enrolled in that as one of the senior coaches, in fact, in the DSTV Premiership that is enrolled in that. And then I wonder about Lebo Manyama. Are you helping him with furthering his education as far as coaching is concerned, so that he's better equipped in that area as well? Is this something that Cape Town City is going to look to invest in the player, or the former player?
No, absolutely. In fact, 2 days ago, funnily enough, we were discussing that with Lebo. He's now enrolled in the new calendar year. He's enrolled for his courses to start, and we would back him 100%. One thing to know the game and understand it from the player's point of view, but there's still a technical input. There's a administrative discipline that you have to bring into the game if you're a coach, and those things, he needs to go through, and we very much would support that. And Eric doing his CAF A now is important, because last time when we went to Africa, we couldn't use him on the bench. He was in the stands. So it was very difficult. Hoping we're still looking at and eyeing a position for CAF this end season. So, we're preparing ourselves first.
Well, that's great to know, Coach, Chair. And I'm happy for Lebogang Manyama, who, we gave him his flowers here. He's been a solid professional, and it's great to be rewarded in that way. But when you speak about transfers, which you mentioned a little bit earlier, and how that disturbed the club, is this in one of the most wanted players who's in your books at the moment, Kanye Samaya, perhaps?
Well, I made a statement at the beginning of the season. I said,
all right, the Chair, they're completely gone. Chair, sorry, you might just have to repeat that again. Maybe let's try again. Your line completely disappeared there.
Can you hear me now?
I can. You made a statement at the beginning of the season?
Yes, about Mayo. I said, if Mayo scores 15 goals this season, I said, everybody, this is his price tag, and I don't think I'm wrong.
What is he on, 6 at the moment?
He's on 6, and I think he's just going to keep scoring goals. He's got the knack for it. He's definitely knows what to do in the box area. So we're very excited about the way forward with Mayo.
You can correct me if I'm wrong. I think that price tag was 37 million in current currency.
Well, check the dollar rate, but it was $2 million.
Yeah, so it's around about 37 million at the moment. Does this include if you're keeping him in the local market, if you're selling him locally to a club in the DStv Premiership, or is that maybe a price for if he does go outside of our boundaries?
No, there's only one price for Mayo, and to be honest, even that number now with what's happening with the African Football League, they're throwing money around like it's nothing. So, let it come our way, because if they want valuable players, it's... Look, at this stage, we're very happy with Mayo. He's got still a long-term contract with us, but realistically, he's definitely on the right track in the years.
See, I'm sitting here and I'm putting the dots together. I had Rulani sit here a week ago and he said he's looking for a striker, and I asked him where. He said, no, there's one that he's looking at locally. You're speaking about the AFL and the big money. One team is playing the AFL. Surely, when I look at the local market, is that the only team that can afford a Mayo?
I think realistically, probably. I know that Stellenbosch could afford it if the boss there was willing to put his money, but things are not like that. But we don't. We talk about these things, but in reality, he forms a very important part of our, important part for our fans to have a player like that in our team. And at this stage, we've made no decisions about Mayo.
A last one on Mayo here. January window is not too far away. If that offer for the money that you want did come from a Sundowns, who realistically, are the only ones that can, and they're in need of strikers at the moment, if it did come in the January transfer window, would you be willing to let him go in January?
In general, I don't like mid-season transfers of players that are key to the club, to be very honest. At the end of the season, it's a different story. We'll review that. Okay. But not at this.
And then you speak of the AFL. What are your true, thoughts of the AFL?
Look, this thing is obviously been handled in a certain way that the Board of Governors were involved, so I don't want to talk out of turn here. I'm an executive member. I certainly have my concerns. I certainly don't think anyone in our organization is against progress for football in the African continent, but certainly not at the detriment of our local product. We've taken 20 years with the vision of Kais Mutang and Dr. Koza to build an industry in South Africa that's unsurpassed, Nobody else in Africa has what we have in South Africa. And this could affect us seriously down the line. And we don't want to be just another African country that has a very, very disorganized league without revenues, without funding, when it's taken us 20 years to build probably the most marvelous league on the continent.
Mm. And that's in what, John? I mean, it's in the imbalance, you think? That much money being spent, one team getting that much money and coming back to...
No, it's not about the money. It's about the time they wish to fixture their fixtures. We've got a league to run here. We've got commitments to sponsors. We've got commitments to broadcast. We can't fit in certain fixtures, especially if this league increases in size. This particular version was eight teams playing a knockout version. We managed it, and through the wisdom of the executive and obviously the board of governors, we allowed this to happen outside of the CAF calendar. And it wasn't an obligation with respect to everyone who had the impression that because CAF is endorsing this, we have to let it go. It was, there's a FIFA rule that categorically states that CAF has to, within the fixture dates, are entitled to fixture anything they want. But outside of that, we would have to be in agreement with that. And we're looking at the bigger picture, and that's why we've allowed it to be what it is. With the decision of the Board of Governors, this is not only the executive, the whole Board of Governors agreed with this. But at the moment, we were managing it, and we managed it.
But imagine if it does grow bigger, then you've got 3 teams, 4 teams.
Exactly, and then what happens if it's during our season, and when we're supposed to play other cup competitions? We've got commitments and contracts. So we've acted extremely responsibly, with obviously looking at the bigger picture, but certainly with big concern about what the implication is to our league. We can't have built 20 years' time. Over 20 years, we've built an industry. We've got revenues that are coming in. We've got the confidence of the corporates, of the broadcasters, and then we ourselves are the demise of our product by allowing fixtures to come in anyway and disrupt our league. We can't do that.
Are there any positives to the AFL as far as from where you sit? Are there any things that you think are great? And let's be a little bit not altruistic here, but a little bit more selfish. Football-wise, in South Africa, how does it help us?
Is it an aspirational league? Can I get into that league if I do well? I'm not sure, really, to be honest, because I don't know if it's an elite boys club and it's by selection or if it's by merit. Those things aren't clear to us, respectfully. So this thing crashed in Europe. It tried the same thing. It crashed. The fans didn't want it because they understood what it meant to their local leagues or the possible implication to their local leagues. And it was a selected group of teams. It was a commercial. It was a commercial entity. It was about money. Big boys with the big bucks play games for big wins. No promotion, no relegation. So when you start losing the element of the football element in something, you start losing the luster. And at some point, like the Super 15 rugby, collapsed. Now we don't play against New Zealand in Super 15. Join another league. In the meantime, we killed Currie Cup. Go to a Currie Cup game, there's 2,500 people. These are the things that we have to be responsible about, looking forward in the way we're going, to take care of the product that people have sacrificed personal wealth to make work in this country over the years. Clubs that have disappeared, that have spent money in this league, the Free State Stars, the Hellenics, all these clubs that the Santoses, they've all disappeared through efforts of financial constraints. And we've built this industry now to what it is. We can't just say, okay, disrupt our league. Matter? Of course it matters. Let's do it constructively. Let's find a way that we can coexist. Perhaps in the calendar days, you want to have an AFL. Maybe you shouldn't have a Confederations Cup. replace the Confederations Cup with this, so that you've got the calendar space to do it. Because it seems to be a more elite, more exclusive kind of hyped product. Yes, then in that case, I understand. But we have something to lose in South Africa. Other leagues don't even have it. You contact players in other countries who haven't played a match for 2 months. Their leagues are disrupted all the time. They don't have funds to travel to play the next league game, so they just don't play it. That happens all over Africa, but not in this country. Yeah, we've run a well-oiled machine for the last 15 years.
I mean, there's no saying anything negative about the PSL. I travel all over the continent, and I can tell you now, I watch games all over the continent. There's nothing like what we've got going on here with the DStv Premiership, and I tip my hat to all those that you've mentioned who've really done a great job to get us to where we are now. The DStv Premiership employs and ensures millions of families, and I literally mean millions of families here, not just the players, the clubs, and us on radio, but it's a bigger pie than that. So I do tip my hat off to all that have been a part of it, and the AFL conversation will continue for a very long time, John. But let's move on to your club here a little bit. Kama Billiot, another old boy of yours. He's with you training at the moment?
Yes. No, he's not. I've not had contact with Kama. To be very honest, we were waiting for him to make a decision on his future, where he would like to see himself. I think he's still in the efforts to try and find something in the Middle East, which would be rather lucrative for him. So we're sitting aside and we're waiting for his response. At this point, that's where we've left it.
So is this a conversation you had with him when you offered him to say, hey, let's come have a look, and he said, no, I'm going to try elsewhere?
Lebo Manyama had the conversation, but that is the content of the conversation, yes.
And if he were not to find something, you're more than willing and happy to have him back? Or to have him rather than back? I mean, it's at different times.
Who wouldn't? As long as he's fit to play, who wouldn't want to be in his team?
I mean, that's good news, and as long as he knows that, I know Kama does listen to the show regularly, so that message getting to him. Now, a last one here, January transfer window, John. I mean, you've had conversation with Eric by now and the entire technical team, and the reinforcement that needs to be had at your club. I wonder, is the goalkeeping department one that you'd be looking at?
Did you watch the game last night?
But I mean, I'm talking about the season here. He really did. He really did.
He was superb, man. And he's 35, turning 36. So at this stage, we do realize that within the next 2 years, we'd have to look at a succession plan. But we're not panicking at this point. Darren's done very, very well for us.
I really appreciate it. I watched the game last night and I wondered what the club's feelings was when Craig Martin scores against you and celebrates nogal.
He celebrated. Did you see that? That's okay. We spoke to him afterwards. It was no hard feelings. Yeah.
He's a passionate boy, though. I'm pretty sure you know that.
No, I'm very happy for him. He's found his feet again.
John, always enjoy our conversations. Thank you so much for talking to us.
Excellent. Thank you.
John Comitis, the chairman of Cape Town City. Not the greatest of line, but you never want to drop in and have an opportunity not to talk to John, is it? We did try and move him around the house, but I don't want to say this a million times. I say it often. We somehow need to acclimatize and to be comfortable with the country we live in. And the truth is, when there is load shedding in and around your area, your line is not always that great. We do try and use all sorts of other mechanisms to speak to people, via their Wi-Fi, etc. But it's not always great.
Sports Night Amplified with Andile on Metro FM. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sports.
So there you have it. For those that have been asking where Kama Billiot is, well, you've heard it. Kama Billiot is still making up his mind. He's sitting and waiting for an offer or to move to the Middle East to a more lucrative offer. But he has been offered to say, hey, if you're keen to come down to Cape Town City, we're keen to have a conversation with you. But at the moment, he's thinking Middle East, let me go make my money there. And that's where we are with Kama Billiot at the moment. But if he's fit, Cape Town City are willing to have him. Speaking of fit, I thought this man was fit to run office. Andile joins us now. We've got, I don't know, do I say former Andile Maforvane joining us now, former SAFA General Manager. Andile.
Hi, Mr. Ncube. How are you?
I'm very well, Mr. Maforvane. How are you? How's everything? How's everything going?
No, I'm doing well. Relaxing and just looking at other things.
Mr. Maforvane, I have not seen an official resignation letter or announcement on whether you're still SAFA GM or not. Hence, I struggled there a little bit when I was introducing you. What is your official title within SAFA, or is there one at the moment as we speak?
For now, I know there were rumors and people were looking for me, because I saw even in one of the media newspapers alleging that I have resigned. I can confirm that I submitted my resignation. Then last month I was serving my notice until the end of the month, which was end of October.
So you've served your notice, you've served the South African Football Association with papers of resignation, and they accepted?
That I cannot say whether they accepted it or not, but at least I've given them the date, which was until the 1st of November. Then nothing came up, so I assume that silence means consent.
So you've served them, you said, hey guys, I'm resigning, and you sent that, I'm assuming, to the entire board, including the president, including the CEO. You said, hey guys, I'm resigning, and they received it, but no one said anything to you?
No, to be honest, the CEO is the head of administration, so therefore the letter was directed to the CEO as the accounting officer in the administration office.
And she said nothing to you about it?
Yes, I think we had some few discussions where she was willing to see me serve for some few, to assist with some of the things that she thought I could still serve. Is what we were discussing for now.
Also, then she did acknowledge your resignation, but she thought, let me involve you in other things that I think you'd be useful to us for whilst you're still there. So she did acknowledge you. Okay, fine, I understand you're resigning, but here's other things. Is that what I'm trying to understand here, Andile? I'm terribly sorry if I feel like I'm all over the place.
Yeah. No, that was what we discussed. Actually, she acknowledged that she had received the letter of resignation, but she thought maybe I can serve and assist in other areas where they will be experiencing some challenges.
And which you agree to?
Actually, I did not agree, because I looked at the terms and conditions, because I said, whilst I still serve, there's some reasons that I forwarded, which are based on why I'm resigning from the association. So it will seem as if I'm just ignoring all those other aspects that I raised as my concern.
Well, let's get into it, Andile, because many people are looking at the South African Football Association at the moment and are thinking, number one, there's a positive energy that wants to see the South African Football Association and people like you at the helm of it do well. So when you go and you resign and you say things like there are things that you're not happy with, there are things that are you just can't put your name on, it raises all our eyebrows to say, Andile, we don't know. We're not within those walls. All we know is we want that place to work, and at the moment it doesn't seem to be working as great as we wanted. Why did you resign?
To be honest, Andile, when one goes and serves the people, whether it's a kind of a job or anything that you're doing, you have your own ambitions that you want to achieve. I can assure you that being on Radio Metro as Andile, you still have your own objectives that you believe I can achieve these goals if I'm at Radio Metro, and Radio Metro will also be able to achieve its own goals based on the assistance or the support that you'll be providing by giving all your services. So this is what we all do. When we go to these institutions, there are certain areas that we believe we'll be able to achieve. If one maybe can say, I want to see my organization being the best organization that one can ever want to serve in Africa, you would know that for it being the best, you also have the contribution that you have made. So therefore, it makes you proud to have served in that type of a situation. So these are the things that made me to come and serve the people. That there are certain ambitions. I want to see the organization being one of the best, and also administratively being the world-class kind of institution that people will be proud to say, we know when you get there, at least we're going to get the kind of service that we expecting. And it's what I had been doing all my life. Everyone that came to me needing any type of support would tell you that I would always give my 100% in ensuring that they get the type of assistance that they needed. So these are the things that one had to sit and say, but am I able to achieve what I'm looking for? Aren't there any challenges that are also retarding the progress that I'm making? So I had to look at such things to say, no, if really this is not helping after such a very long period that I've served, actually, which is 4 years, where will I be going from here? Then will I be able to be proud, or will not have delayed my progress in other things? That's why I had to look at some of those things. Then others are related to the administration and also how we approach things as an association. Then looking at all those things, I said, no, but I'm doing all these things, but how benefit or what impact do they have in my family? Yeah, I can give you one example.
Please do. I was about to ask for it, Mzwandile. I hear you saying so much. But
I'm one person that is able to wake up early at 4 o'clock to be at the airport to receive whichever team that is coming. But you look at the kind of situation in Johannesburg where it's not safe. So therefore, you look at the professionalism at the association. It's one of those things that I've raised to say, are we professional enough that we should be able to be proud of? One can also look at the matter of the outstanding. But I'm not sure whether the retrenchment is still coming or not, because it's one of those things that I've been alluding to, and to take into account the level of staff that we have, that we're short-staffed, we don't have enough capacity to can be able to do some of the jobs. But if you told about the retrenchment that might be on the way, as per the announcement that was made by, you remember, the former CEO, those are the allegations, or he withdrew his statement. But those were some of the issues that were raised, that no, there might be a retrenchment that is coming. But if you look at such things, you doubt whether am I still safe to be here, or should I look at other opportunities that might be coming somewhere, or will I wake up one day and be told that my job is no longer there, and then I have to look for something else in order to feed my family. So those are some of the issues that I've raised. Others include administration as well, which I said to them, administratively, I really believe that we need to include on a lot of things.
And I completely hear you, and I think those are things that you've mentioned now, that any person that is a stand-up person that wants to see the work they do be impactful might be worried about. But I wonder, are the things that you've just mentioned to me now worthy of your resignation? Are those not the things that, in your position as GM, as close as what you are to the CEO, are these not things that you can go out there and work at and resolve? Is it a matter of, no, I'm resigning because, you know, and I hear you. I mean, going to the airport to receive people in their wee hours. I completely hear you, Mzwandile, and I don't disagree with you. I just wonder if this is it. This is what broke you.
I agree with you, Andile. If you are that close, you can be able to deal with some of those issues. But if administratively there's no lines of communication that are open for one to be able to discuss things openly, but then you see things happening, then it is an eyebrow to say administratively we have got challenges here. That means I cannot raise issues and there's no open.
Give me one administrative challenge that you decided this is just a. But what administrative challenge did you come to where you were like, I can't hear now? For instance, the one thing that I would have thought, particularly sitting at GM level with the CEO as well, is the money issue. I would have thought that would have been a big one in one of your cases, to say, how do we function as a South African Football Association with our prized property, which is Bafana, not being able to get their salaries on time and things like that. I just want to know from you, what is that one thing that you can tell me that I can say, oh wow, that is reason for Mzwandile to turn his back and say, no, enough is enough of this.
Andile, I think I had been vocal enough, because in one instance I even called the staff members to say, let us try and find out what is it that can be done. As one of the people, not as an GM, but there was a time that we approached the CEO regarding these rumors of the retrenchment. Still no response that was received. But then people would just go and deny that this is just allegations that are happening. But you see some of the things happening where the staff members that is either retire, cannot be replaced, then you have to go on and replace some of those people in doing your jobs. One of my responsibilities was to manage the area of the security. The security department did not have a person. I know somebody.
They didn't have a?
There was no personnel
in the security. Okay.
Yes, and I've requested, according to the organogram, there's somebody supposed to serve as a safety and security officer. But that position was never filled up. Then I'd be making such requests. Then one has to move up. You either get a service in order to ensure that you assist security, and again you go and perform your own responsibilities, where you feel that still you are understaffed because you don't have the manager for events, you don't have.
Andile, can I ask you a straightforward question?
Yes.
I'm listening to what you've said. With people retiring, they don't get replaced. The talks of people getting retrenched. The talks of the organogram that's got people who are working in several places, but there's actually nobody there, so other people have to fill in. I take a look at all of that, and I look at the money issues as well that Bafana have had. Can I then come straight to you and say, Andile, is the SAFA bank unhealthy?
That I'm not sure, really. Maybe people that are managing the finances, because that has never been said.
So at GM level, you don't know whether you've got enough money to pay staff. You don't know whether you've got enough money to run and do your daily duties. That's not something that you come across. You have no idea.
No.
At GM level, Andile, you don't know?
That's why I said, Andile, administratively, Andile, I served, before I came to SAFA, I served as a deputy principal at the school. Then I know there were management meetings where I would sit with the principal. Then we are able to discuss the issues to understand what is the financial situation. We know what is the academic performance in the school, and we discuss what are the mechanisms that should be applied in order to improve the academic performance of the learners at the school. Then in that case, we say that administratively everyone is involved. But if we talk about the situation whereby decisions are just made, you just have to comply with whatever that is being decided, then we show that there is a lack of understanding on how people should perform or trust on people on administrative matters.
So then you don't have a great...
That is one of the challenges that administratively I might be... In fact, for your information, let me correct it in saying that the GM position was done away. Under the new organogram, there was no GM. I was just an ordinary manager like anybody else who is there. So therefore, there's no engagement on management on what, in terms of your responsibilities.
So your title was now just manager?
Just manager.
Manager of what?
Of manager for football and health.
What does that even mean?
That means manager looking for at football. Under football, you're talking about the referee competition, security, and then the events, when the events have to be organized. Reporting
to the CEO?
Yes.
And then what is your relationship like with the president?
With
the president, Dr. Tini Jordan?
With the president? No, actually for me, I don't have any problem with the president. I think we communicate normally on normal.
So then did you bring up all these challenges that you're having with him to say, hey, I don't want to resign, I don't want to leave. These are all my challenges. I mean, if you're in line of communication, surely it's something that you bring up to him.
Actually, before I could even do, I engaged him to make him aware of all the challenges that we have administratively and the challenges that we have in terms of professionalism, how we deal with matters, especially the relationship between the administration and the governance structure. Which I believe sometimes you have the governing structure that will just come and try to impose. Because one of the things that I asked about the organogram was that it's the MC that decided on the organogram and they instructed.
I want to hold it there, Andile. I want to take a quick break. When we come back, I just want to know, what was his response to that?
Sports Night Amplified with Andile on Metro FM. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sports.
Just not enough time in an hour, is there? Great conversations, two of them. Firstly, with the chairman of Cape Town City, and now with former GM, former manager at South African Football Association, Andile Maforvane. Andile, and this obviously needed a longer conversation. I didn't think it would be. But very quickly, South Africans are worried about the state of the South African Football Association, what it means for our football. We've got AFCON coming up. In your view, do we have a management hierarchy? Do we have an office at SAFA that at the moment is capable of running South African football to former glory, to maybe, upcoming greatness?
By management, you must know that, Andile, there is leadership, there is also management. In management, we're talking people, in my opinion, that are administratively managing and organizing the events that are supposed to take place in this regard.
Do we?
Then if we talk about the leadership, we talk about the organ that is determining the policies of the organization. Management, I trust that people that you have in the office are able to do.
So you trust management? What about the leadership?
They know what has to happen.
And the leadership?
But even we don't have any kind of a good leadership that can be able to guide people on.
You're saying if. I'm asking you, you were there. Is there good enough leadership? Shouldn't be an if. You should know. Is there good enough leadership?
No, I believe if we have a leadership that interferes on administrative matters, then it's a clear sign that leadership is not aware of its own roles and responsibilities.
I'm going to assume here, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. You said you have a great relationship with the president, so you speak to him. It's not him. So are you saying that at CEO level, there's interference with the management level?
Yes, because there's no way that you can every time. In fact, the example that I made was of the organogram, which I clearly indicated to the president that there's no way that you can have, once you appoint the CEO and you trust the CEO with the roles and responsibilities that they have to perform, then you need to give them that guidance to be able, in fact, what assurance that they'll be able to do whatever that they're supposed to do without any interference or.
So the CEO at the moment interferes and therefore makes work difficult for those that are doing it and doesn't follow what the organogram says. No,
we have the organogram. Who's responsible and who's dealing with the organogram? They say no, the NEC has given directive to certain members within the NEC to be able to deal with the organogram, which in my belief, it is the CEO that must be able to determine the staff member that they need in order to perform their duties. It's like appointing the coach. After appointing the coach, then say, no, we're going to determine the player that the coach is going to use. Let's find the striker. Let's find the system that is going to be used.
Andile, is Lady Manyapao, the current CEO, is she fit to be in that chair?
I believe she is fit to be in that chair.
But?
She needs to be empowered, and she needs also to be given the full authority in order to decide and determine what kind of support she wants to get.
Empowered and given the support by who?
Empowered by the NEC, the leadership, but she should also be given authority to determine the kind of support that she needs in order to be able to do her job.
Andile Maforvane, I really do appreciate you. One of these days, once this has died down, your opinions, your thoughts, and your insights would be great to have you on this show when we're not speaking directly about your job there. Thank you very much, and I appreciate you.
Thank you very much. And
thank you, Principal.
We have a very short time.
We always do, but I think you must come into the studio and we must get an hour. But I appreciate it, Deputy.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you so much to you. I really, really appreciate you. For every one of you that looks out their car window, that screams at the top of their lungs, Olepara, that's because that's who we are on this show. And that includes you. Pera, and so me.